Hi artists. So today in this video I'm going to talk about using graphite or pencil lead and some different tools and some techniques. So what you want to be able to do as an artist is to get lots of different values or darks and lights with your graphite. And if you really want to make a photorealistic type of drawing, you want to be able to do it smoothly so that you get those nice values that look photorealistic. There's a couple of exercises you can do if you get a blank sheet like this from me or this one. This talks about the difference between two-dimensional and three-dimensional. So a two-dimensional shape is flat, and then as soon as you add that third dimension, you get the forms, like a sphere, a cylinder, a cone, a cube, or a pyramid. And to really make it look 3D, you want to eliminate all outlines so that you just have values going up from one color to the next. And there's not a strong outline around it. If you have a strong outline, that will flatten it and won't look photorealistic. Sometimes if it's white against white or black against black, you'll get what's called a lost edge, and the viewer's eye will fill it in even though it's not really there. We don't look at that and say, oh my gosh, something ate the edge of this vase, but we just feel like it's solid. So this could be a little practice, and on this one I made dotted lines for you to practice. These little lines or arrows indicate where the light source would be. So here's an example of what one of the students did. And you want to go gradually from dark to light on a rounded form, such as a sphere, a cylinder, or a cone. And you want to have abrupt changes in value on a square edge form, such as a cube or a pyramid. So as soon as the light changes direction, you'll get a complete different value. It won't go gradually. And then the cast shadows also. So these are some little exercises you can do. And on this one, you can just have a little fun and make it a can of something that you would never have in your pantry, like a can of rulers, or a can of puppies, or a can of fire hoses, or something and then show that curve of the cylinder with the lettering on it to tell what it is. So I'll have these available for you. Okay, so the first thing you want to get familiar with is the type of pencil lead and how they're labeled. If it has a B on it, like this for example is a 6B, so it's a high number in a B, so it's going to be darker and darker and darker the higher the number is. There's also a type of pencil that's really common for artists called an ebony pencil, and it's really dark. It's in there with the 6Bs. And then the lower the number, the lighter it starts to get, but all the Bs are fairly dark. If you have a number 2 pencil or one that says HB, it's kind of middle of the road. You'll also see a drawing pencil called an F, and that's also very middle of the road value. And once you get down into the H's, the lead feels much harder, so with the same amount of pressure, you get a lighter value. And I don't know if I wrote down some of the numbers I was using, and you can probably hardly see that 6H in there. I was pushing fairly hard, and it barely makes a mark on there. So the higher the number, the lighter it is. And so what tool you choose makes a difference, but also the amount of pressure. The harder the pressure, the darker it will be. So if I take a 2B here, and let's just take this, and I use really light pressure, that's about as light as I can get. And then if I'm just kind of holding it close to the tip, and I'm resting my fist, and I'm going back and forth at an angle, and I'm gradually starting to make a darker pressure until I get to the darkest pressure I can get. And you can see that value change all with the same number pencil. But that's the lightest I can get, and that's the darkest I can get. If I go into a 8B, for example, I will, oh, actually, let me use a 9B. That's really dark. So I'm going to go really, really light pressure. That's the lightest I can get, and that's pretty dark. If you're looking at the value scale here, that's already like a number 6. Okay, so we'll gradually start to put more pressure on, and then finally you get almost to black. And by the way, graphite does not go all the way to black like charcoal or black oil paint or something like that. It gets to a very dark gray. Now if I go over to a number 2 pencil, or let's do the HB, and I do really light pressure and go darker and darker and darker. It's close to what the 2B was. Fairly close. A little bit lighter on the light end. And let's go to now a 2H. And let's do really light pressure. Now you can see we're getting real light at the beginning and not too dark at the end. So there's the value change on the 2H. And finally, let's get to that 6H. So this is the lightest pressure I can get. Just, you know, you probably can't even see it on the video, but I'm just getting, you know, just almost white. And then harder pressure, and that's the darkest it'll get. So it really makes a difference, not only the number and letter of the pencil, but the amount of pressure. Now, how are you going to utilize getting some really smooth values? So one of the tools you need is like a tortillon or a blending stump, and they have different looks to them. Like one of them's called a tortillon, one's called a blending stump, and I think this is the tortillon, but I can't really remember. Or you could just use Q-tips. That's fine. It's better not to use your finger, but a good blending tool is a Kleenex wrapped around your finger. So if you take, let's just do a 6B here, and here, I'll go on this. And I'll start to make a value with the 6B. And then if I take this tortillon, I can smooth it out and get rid of all the little white texture of the tooth of the paper, and really smooth it out and kind of drag it out and soften the edge a little bit. Another really good way to, let's say you were doing a portrait of somebody and you wanted to get a nice smooth skin tone, a good way is to not even apply the pencil to the paper, but to take another piece of paper and apply the graphite. Let's put some, how about, let's do no, not a 9B. Let's do a 2B. 2B here. So and I'm going to wrap this around my finger, and then I can apply a value onto, here, let's try this again. Let's go with a 6B. And I'm going to make a little spot. This is kind of like on your palette with paint. So you're sort of taking and applying the paint onto the palette, and then this is be like the brush, and you're saturating it, and then you're spreading it on there so you get a really smooth application of the graphite. Now another tool, this is called a graphite stick, and they come in different numbers also. I like the darker ones. These are both 6B, and they're both different shapes of graphite stick, but it's just pencil lead without the wood wrapped around it. So you can apply that quickly, or if you wanted to fill in a dark background, like on this, you can fill it in much more quickly with the graphite stick. But let me wrap the tissue around my hand and apply it so you can get a nice smooth tone, like on the edge of a box or on the edge of a vase. And you got to be careful you don't have something bumpy underneath your paper. So, you know. Okay. Okay, another tool that's really great is called powdered graphite. And so this is, I got a big giant tub of it, and I was selling it, little jars of it in class, but since we're virtual right now, I don't know how convenient it would be for you to get some, but you could try and look and order online. But you can take and just dip it in the powdered graphite and put it on your little palette area. We'll call this the palette. You don't want to put it directly on there because it's too powdery, but get a little on the tissue again, and you can spread it on there. Or you could use this blending tool to grab some and spread it on there. Okay, now let's talk about erasers and sharpeners. There's all kinds of sharpeners. I really like just using my electric sharpener over there, but this is another one that has different sizes depending on how fat your pencil is. And you can get the ones that are convenient to take out on location if you're packing some art supplies out. And then they would just kind of, so then the shavings would just sort of fall on the ground. How about erasers? Though one eraser that's really nice to have, really important to have, is a kneaded eraser. When you first get it, it looks kind of like this or this, depending on the brand. It's covered in plastic, and then you'll take it out and start squishing it, and you can squeeze it to a little point and get out little lines in there, and you can use that to create textures. It'll also be very gentle on paper, so you won't be damaging your paper if you want to erase some smudges and so on. Then you have the good old white or pink eraser, and they're a little bit more aggressive, and they do leave a little bit of eraser crumbles. If you have a little brush, you can brush them away. They have artist brushes. I think I have one somewhere here. It's in one of these drawers, but and then I really like these click erasers. So they're like a pencil, and you can actually use it as a drawing tool to lift out highlights or animal texture or that kind of thing. And then of course my favorite thing is this electric eraser, and it sounds like a dental tool, but you just hit it and you can make some wonderful eraser marks for texture or for lifting out like a shine in an eye or something like that. So I think that's it. Oh, another good blending thing is one of these little compact sponges you get for makeup, and it's great for blending once you know, to smooth out a value. Okay, so there's your basic graphite tools and techniques.